Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
BTS released an R&B remix of Permission to Dance on July 23rd. In their announcement, Big Hit says, following 7 stunning weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 chart with Butter, Permission to Dance has reached the top of the chart for the first week, thanks to the support of all fans. To express our deep gratitude to fans who always connect to the music of BTS and send them your love, we have prepared a remix version of Permission to Dance. And it says that they made it with a distinct 1990s sensibility whose minimalistic synth sounds will make you focus even more on the vocals. Did you sense a 90s vibe from it?
No.
I mean,
I'll be honest, I didn't.
It sounded R&B. I don't know about 90s.
A lot of these people who are doing the 90s thing, I'm going to have to admit, I was alive during the 90s. So, like, even now, I don't think there's a strong... The 90s just doesn't feel like it has a strong character. So I can't recognize it when I hear it. Like, can you recognize it? Can you hear a 90s? Can you hear 90s in something? We can hear 80s in something. We can hear 60s in something. We can hear 70s in something, right?
Yeah.
We can hear 50s in something, but I'm still unable to hear quote-unquote 90s.
I mean, I know the songs that make me think of 90s R&B, but I don't know if it's because it has that exact sound or if it's because I know what year that song was from.
Well, there's 90s R&B for sure. We're even talking about like Jodeci or Boyz II Men.
Right.
These are 90s R&B, and it is definitely it's a dated kind of sound. Nobody does it anymore. So that, I guess that does have its own character, but I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it in there.
Right.
It's I guess it's kind of hard to reproduce that sound.
Yeah, and it's hard to say exactly what makes something 90s or 90s R&B. I'm
pretty sure it's 4 black guys singing.
But it's like I can identify it if I hear it.
That's exactly what it is. Or 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's a group.
Right. I everybody who's heard that sound, they kind of recognize what it is, right?
Yeah,
it's not totally about race. To be fair, like there's like Color Me Bad and Backstreet Boys stuff that sounds kind of 90s R&B too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not totally about race, but I'm not sure that I get that from this. It's a hard thing to recapture.
Mm-hmm. It's very specific.
Yeah.
The remix was done by Hiss Noise, who is a Big Hit producer. He also did Dynamite Bedroom Remix and Butter Cooler Remix. So he's kind of their go-to guy for R&B remixes, it seems like. I do like the original one better because it's faster paced and it sounds like, this is the song that it's meant to sound like. But the R&B version does have a slower tempo, so it might be easier for karaoke purposes. But yeah, that's good that they're keeping Permission to Dance in the spotlight by making remixes. And I mean, for all we know, they might have more remixes coming out. And they also have a YouTube Shorts Permission to Dance challenge that's probably going to really help the song stay prominent on YouTube and like all over the charts. So I think that was a good idea for a partnership. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a dancer or anything, so I'm not going to be entering any of those, but feel free to participate in the challenge if you want. BTS will be making their first ever appearance on BBC Radio 1's Live Lounge. They will be appearing on the famous UK radio segment on July 27th. In keeping with the Live Lounge tradition, which usually features artists performing a cover in addition to their own music, BTS will not only be performing Permission to Dance and Dynamite, but also a cover of Puff Daddy and Faith Evans' 1997 hit, I'll Be Missing You. So if you're not familiar with that, that's a song from the 90s R&B.
Right.
So that
again, 90s. No, yeah, I guess 90s R&B. Yeah.
It's not a totally rap song.
Not
so
100% rap. No.
Yeah, it has like part rap and part singing. So that's interesting.
Well, it was groundbreaking because it had Diddy, who I don't know if you know this, but P Diddy, he started as I don't know if he started as a producer or director.
Producer, I think.
Either producer or director. And then he said, well, this rap thing isn't that hard. So he also started rapping. And then when he did this song as a tribute, he decided he could also sing, which I really believe overextended his abilities. But he did it. He did it. So let's just put it this way. It's not the hardest song to cover.
Yeah. And there's some comments I'm seeing on Twitter. Some ARMY was kind of excited about this, and they're posting on the official video of I'll Be Missing You. You know, like, oh, I'm excited BTS is covering this, and I'm here because of BTS. And, you know, there's other ARMY that were kind of warning these people, like, okay, make sure you don't post anything disrespectful because of the history of this song. And, you know, people may not know, like, the whole backstory of where the song came from. So that's understandable.
Okay, so I saw that. They said don't post something just now. This song was made in tribute to Biggie Smalls, who died. So back in, this is ancient history now, but back in like 1997, there was a feud between East Coast rap artists and West Coast rap artists. And Tupac Shakur was on the West Coast, and he was murdered in Las Vegas. And then there was a lot of speculation that the East Coast people had him murdered. Right. Now, the speculation wasn't totally unfounded because he said a lot of nasty things about him, and he wasn't exactly a nice guy either. Okay, let's just call a spade, okay? He wasn't exactly a great guy. He said a lot of disparaging things, and maybe they did have him. I don't know. There's lots of speculation whether the East Coast people had him killed. Biggie Smalls was on the East Coast side, and then he was murdered maybe a year later, half a year later.
Yeah, it was like 6 months later.
And there was speculation that this was some kind of East Coast, West Coast war. I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Okay? Maybe it was just these people hang out with just totally the wrong people.
Yeah, no one was arrested after either of these people were killed.
It could have been just some unrelated, you hang out with the wrong people, you got murdered sort of thing. Anyway, that's like 23 years old. I'm not going to dredge that up. But when this happened, then P. Diddy, whose name, by the way, at the time was Puff Daddy. It wasn't P. Diddy. He wrote this song as a tribute to his fallen rap artist.
Yeah, because he was his producer. He discovered him, basically, and was like producing all his music.
And it's sampled, by the way, which is what P. Diddy is like famous for doing. He's sampling other stuff. What did it sample again? I forget.
The Police. Every breath you take.
So he sampled stuff, but he overlaid a track onto it. And it was a very popular song, extremely popular at the time.
Yeah, and it was...
And so now people are saying, hey, just be respectful. But as far as I saw, when I looked at the official video, yeah, there were some BTS people saying, BTS fans saying, I'm here because I heard about it. They didn't say anything disrespectful as far as I could see.
No.
They just said, I'm here because of BTS or something, you know?
Yeah, just some basic comments like, you know.
They didn't say, oh, this song is crap. It was total crap before BTS covered it or something like that. They didn't say that.
No.
And it appears that most of them liked the song, right?
Yeah.
Or if they didn't know about the song before, they researched it and they said, my point is that there's no reason to be offended by it. Why would you be offended? If anything, there's more people today who know why he made the song as a tribute to his friend who died, right? Well, logically speaking, because BTS covered it, there's more people now who bothered to research the story behind it and said, oh, you did this song because your friend died. So there's more people who know about Biggie Smalls, and they know that this is a tribute to him, right? I'm sure that P. Diddy would be fine with that. Like, there's more young people now who know that this tribute exists, as opposed to it just fading into obscurity, as most things do, right? The very act of BTS covering it makes more people aware of the original purpose, which was a tribute to Biggie Smalls. And maybe they would even research his music and appreciate that, which I can't imagine that they would be angry about. Right? So as far as being respectful, who's not being respectful? Who's like going in the comments and saying Biggie Smalls is crap? Who's saying that?
Right. I think this is just a preemptive, like anti thing that's like, don't you guys say anything bad. Like, no one did.
Yeah, no one did.
And yeah, I'm sure Diddy is probably going to be happy because tons of people are going to stream the song and they'll like it. And that's often an effect of BTS and BTS Army. It's like they'll make other things popular just from association. And yeah, not everybody knows about this chapter in music history. I think it's pretty important thing to bring up because, you know, back in the day in the 90s, gangster rap, it was like that was real. People were actually having beef with each other and then like trying to kill each other. And maybe gangs were related. I don't know. That probably made it a lot worse. But it's like people had real conflict.
They did. And I don't want to get into all the rumor mongering or anything, but I remember when I was young, and this obviously would be blown up today because we have the internet and everything, but there were rumors that Tupac slept with Biggie Small's wife.
Oh, wow.
You didn't know about that?
I didn't hear about that one.
There's a lot of backstory and color to this whole
East
Coast West Coast rivalry.
Faith Evans, who was singing on the original I'll Be Missing You?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And that would be terrible. Imagine if she sparked a lot of this conflict by sleeping with Tupac.
Oh, my God.
And then both guys died, and she's singing on this like tribute song like she's blameless or whatever.
Wow.
Hey, you're not blameless.
It was all a love triangle.
This is pure speculation.
Yeah, we don't know.
But
it could have been.
These are rumors from back in the day. Okay, so coming back to today, just putting things in perspective, all of these like anti-wars, you know, like fandom wars or whatever, they seem so serious now. But hey, I guess you can say at least nobody's getting killed.
Yeah. Like
at least you're not killing each other.
Twitter wars and someone being canceled. It's like, okay, that's no big deal really in the scheme of things.
Yeah. Just know that your predecessors, their anti-wars or whatever, they were a lot more serious. They used to get shot.
But I feel like the gangster rap kind of ended after that, and this song came out.
It did, probably because people realize that they don't want to die.
Yeah, they're like, this has gone too far. The beefs, and it's like, okay, and that's why a lot of beefs that rappers have, they're like fake beefs. So I think that's better, even though they're not real. It's just like, oh, I have a feud with this person. They said something about me. It's not. Yeah. It never gets to this level of like people trying to kill each other, and that's good. I'm glad it doesn't.
So just remember, back in the day, things got way more serious than they are now.
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited to see what BTS do with this song.
I think they will do very well with the song because you know why? It was a song made so that Diddy could sing it.
Yeah.
He is A, a terrible rapper, and B, also a terrible singer. So clearly, it's not a challenging song. So people who are actually competent in singing will be okay.
Yeah, they can definitely do a lot with it, and especially its R&B flavor. They can do a lot of like harmonizing and stuff like that. So it'll be really good, I'm sure. But back in the day, Diddy, people mocked his singing, his rapping. They were like, why is he in the videos? He's just the producer. Like that was part of the feud, was like people were making fun of Diddy, like the West Coast guys, videos.
He deserved it because he's bad.
But that part was funny, like when they were making fun of each other, but then okay, trying to kill each other. Okay, that's too much.
That was the world. So let's just, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the moral of the story is that fandom wars and K-pop are not that bad. Yeah. We'll never get to that level, at least, where people were murdering each other.
BTS is confirmed to be speaking at the September UN General Assembly in New York. So this is exciting for ARMY, who like to follow their airport fashion and videos of when they arrive at the airports. So that's going to be fun. The reason for them speaking again is because President Moon appointed BTS as his special envoy for public diplomacy. They plan to attend major meetings, including the 75th session of the UN General Assembly in September. It sounds like they're going to give a speech again, like they did before. I feel like if they're being called to do like actual diplomatic jobs, shouldn't they get some kind of benefit for that? Like exemption or
What do you mean? Oh, like Korean exemption, military exemption?
Or at least like that should count for some of their time that would have been for enlistment. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
That is serving the country.
It is.
And it seems like a really big responsibility.
It is.
We're representing South Korea. Right. But as a result of this news, they're going to be in New York on September 14th for this meeting. And so people are speculating, oh, well, they might attend other things that are happening around that time that are taking place in New York too. So that's on the 14th. September 12th is the VMAs, MTV VMAs. So that's something that maybe they could be attending. We don't know. They haven't announced anything about that yet. And also September 13th is the Met Gala, which is always in New York, and that's something they've never attended before, as far as I know, but they definitely could. That's like the day before, and we know that they're ambassadors for Louis Vuitton, so that would be so easy for them to get an invitation because the major designers, they can invite whoever, and those people can go. That's how that works. So it's like you either have to be invited by Anna Wintour or you're a guest of one of the major designers.
Anna Wintour still runs the Met Gala?
She decides like
That woman has too much power.
Every person invited.
I hate that woman.
And I did see also this year there's like the co-chairs. You know how it's always like celebrity co-chairs. I don't know what power they have, but I saw one of them's Billie Eilish, and so it's like they're inviting like artists, like musicians. It's not just fashion people anymore. It's like celebrities and artists. So that's definitely something that people wanted to see, and ARMY is already kind of speculating about that. BTS is also performing at the Global Citizen Live event, which it's in New York, but it's also in multiple other cities being streamed to a live audience. It's like a 24-hour thing, and it's going to be broadcast from Lagos, London, Los Angeles, New York City, Paris, Rio, Seoul, and Sydney. So if they're streaming from Seoul, then I guess BTS will be back in Seoul for that, because I don't know any other K-pop artists that are performing at this event. So, but they could be still in New York City at that date. So that's also a possibility. And I was going to say about the Met Gala that they said the theme this year is American fashion. So that sounds like kind of a boring theme, but that's something BTS could wear. I mean, because their last couple of videos have been kind of American themed, if you think about it. Like Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance. They had like Dynamite had like styles from the 70s, like American fashion, and Butter, that looked pretty American too, also, and Permission to Dance, they had like Old West kind of costumes. So I think they're pretty well versed in that genre. So a lot of times the Met Gala has an exaggerated version of whatever the theme is. So maybe Louis Vuitton can come up with something that looks like super American, that's high fashion that they can wear. So that'll be interesting. I hope they go to that, because I do want to see like what they would come up with.
I would love to see them at the Met Gala. I know a lot of people don't pay that close attention to this, but the Met Gala is sort of the vanguard of American cultural expression, right? Like fashion, et cetera, These are the people pushing. They're the first ones to have all the trends that you see. It filters down from these people. These people who go to the Met Gala, it's from them that all of the fashion trends filter, right? And a lot of the cultural trends too, not just fashion. So for them to get into that, I think is important. It shows a cultural penetration that they haven't had to this point.
Yeah, so I think it would be really smart of the Met Gala to invite them, or if Louis Vuitton can get them to go to that, I think that could be a huge moment for BTS and fashion. It would just bring a lot of attention. So I think it would be a good thing. But yeah, as far as the Global Citizen Live, it's not clear where BTS is performing from. They're definitely booked to appear on it, but we don't know from where. So we'll see if it's from New York or Seoul. And some people also think maybe they're going to release an album in September, and if they're in New York, they can perform the first song, the title song from one of these events. But I'm really not sure about that one, because I still think they're waiting to get the tour going, and so they wouldn't want to release a whole album before then. They want to promote that the tour is happening, so whatever songs will be on that, which would be all the Map of the Soul 7 songs, and Butter, Dynamite, Permission to Dance. Like you can't get too ahead of it, and then there'd be too many songs to perform on the tour, so you can't just release like too much stuff beforehand. So I personally don't think an album release is going to happen in September. I think it will be later on, once the tour is already underway, maybe. But, it could happen, and maybe that would be a good moment to do that. Recently, there's been some plagiarism accusations regarding Butter. One was from a Dutch musician named Luca Debonair. Another one is Butter being compared to a song in the 1992 Nintendo game Monster in My Pocket. And Big Hit Music released a statement on July 22nd that Butter does not breach any copyrights. It remains unchanged that the right to the music belongs to Butter, said the company, acknowledging that it is aware of the claims that the intro of the song may be plagiarized. The song has been finalized and released after a process of confirming with all the copyright holders that there's no issue surrounding the song. So the two issues have to do with, some people said it sounded similar to the soundtrack of this song from 1992 in the Nintendo game Monster in My Pocket. As far as I know, nothing came from that. That's just something people are talking about. There's not been any legal action, and no person has said, they plagiarized this and that. And so I don't think that one is really an issue. It probably just sounds similar. And as far as the other one, the Luca Debonair, he said that the chorus of Butter is similar to his song, You Got Me Down. He had purchased that part of the song from Sebastian Garcia. And Sebastian Garcia is one of the songwriters of Butter. So it sounds like Sebastian Garcia can still use that same piece of music for Butter, and he was legally able to do that. So it sounds like Big Hit has everything covered. Like all the right people got credit for Butter that were supposed to, and there isn't really an issue. As far as I understand it, it was kind of complicated, but it sounds like the right people were credited.
So this is a pretty complicated issue. I did a little research, and there's some things that I remember and some things I had to research a little bit. But just listening to this, it does sound, I hate to tell you this, but it does sound very, very similar, right? So if it was something that this one person bought from someone else, and BTS also bought that thing from that person, then it's okay. But if not, then he probably does have a case. And it does seem that these things are pretty easy. Like, it does seem that these cases generally favor the person bringing the suit.
Yeah.
Like, let's remember the most famous ones. Like, if you go back in the day, remember Vanilla Ice, right? Vanilla Ice, Queen, David Bowie. He sampled something. It was obviously the exact same thing. He lost that. He lost it bad. Right? He had to pay. He lost I think he lost all of the residuals for that.
Oh, wow.
I think he did.
That's a huge hit to him then.
And then the next big one was, do you remember The Verve and the Rolling Stones?
Oh, yeah.
The Verve sampled the Rolling Stones. And this one is actually an example of how this is kind of unfair, where the Verve sampled the Rolling Stones, but they got permission from the person who actually wrote the section that they're sampling. But they didn't do their homework, and the person who owned the whole song was like a producer for the Rolling Stones or something, and he still owned the song, and he sued the hell out of them.
Oh.
And it went very badly for them, and the result of that was that they lost all rights, they lost all residuals. So the Verve, they make no money from that song. It goes all to the Rolling Stones and to this producer, right?
Oh, man. And that's like their one big song, too.
It is.
Bittersweet Symphony.
But in like 2019 or something, after that guy died, and it was just the child of the estate and also the Rolling Stones, they said, this is really unfair to the Verve. Because even at the time, it was felt to be an unfair judgment, because the Verve, they asked for permission for that segment. They just didn't dot their I's and cross their T's about it. And someone had ownership of something and whatever, right? So the Rolling Stones actually gave back all of the rights to the songwriter of the Verve.
Oh, wow.
They said, this is unfair, so you should have it back. So all credit to the Rolling Stones. They said, hey, you know what? And it's not like the guy didn't try. He didn't just rip it off and say, yeah, this is mine. He tried to go get the rights from the person who wrote that riff, right? Mm-hmm. It just wasn't, it wasn't exactly the right person that he should have contacted, right? And due to legalese, technicalities, he lost. But in 2019 or whatever, they reverted rights back to him. All credit the Rolling Stones. Although, you know what? The Rolling Stones have so much money.
They have more than enough to...
They don't need the money from this thing or whatever.
This one song.
Right? And they probably felt it was super unfair what happened to him. So they just said whatever. And they did need to wait until this producer died because it wasn't technically the Rolling Stones. It was this producer. Mm-hmm. So the writing credits reverted from the Rolling Stones back to, I forget his name, Richard Ashcroft from The Verve, who wrote Bittersweet Symphony. A couple other cases include, remember when Robin Thicke, Marvin Gaye's estate sued Robin Thicke?
Oh, yeah. And Pharrell.
Right? For blurred lines?
Yeah.
Like, this sounds too similar to Marvin Gaye. And it didn't even sound that similar, but you know what? Robin Thicke lost that case.
Yeah, that one I was like, okay, I don't know if I hear exactly what
Right. It didn't even sound that similar. But the jury ruled against them.
Yeah.
And it set kind of like a dangerous precedent. You can say dangerous because it really set the tone that, hey, you know what? If it sounds at all similar, you could be in trouble.
Well, was that a case where they made their song and it was like inadvertently sounded like the other song?
Nobody will know. No one can say, right? So, but that sort of set the precedent, erring on the side of the plaintiff, right?
Right.
And the next big case was Mark Ronson and Uptown Funk. Uptown Funk, he lost that one too.
Oh, what was that about?
Like the Gap band sued them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars just settled. Or did they settle or they lost? I don't know. They lost. No, they lost.
Because that's a song everybody loved.
No, they settled it.
Everybody loved that song because it had such a throwback beat.
They settled it. And you know what? Based on this, I know that maybe you think that, well, it could be that it just sounds similar. And you know what? Pop music is so derivative at this point, and so much of it sounds similar. Fair enough. But you know what? If it goes to the courts, they're not going to be friendly to this argument. Because it seems that generally the defendant has been losing in these cases. This is dangerous for BTS. So they should settle with this party.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to prove. Like, I came up with this totally by myself.
Right.
Like, that's a hard thing to prove. It's easier.
And you know what? It's so much more difficult these days when, let's be real, there are only so many notes and combination of notes, right? It's so much more likely these days that somebody has come up with this combination of notes and it can be recorded because there's internet, there's technology, and someone can say, hey, I wrote this. And even if you weren't inspired by it and you didn't copy it, it predates yours, so there you go, right?
Yeah, like in the court, they're just going to listen to both pieces side by side and they'll be like,
right.
Well, that sounds like that.
They can't prove that you listened to it or not. They're only going to judge whether it's similar or not.
Yeah.
And the chances that something out there that has been put out on the internet or can be established at a date earlier than yours that sounds similar, it's super high these days, you know? And it's probably better to settle these things than to even fight them. As far as this particular situation, I'll be honest, it doesn't look great for BTS, but just because I listened to both clips and they sound very similar. On par with some of these other cases where the defendant lost. Mm-hmm. So imagine if you're representing BTS or you're representing Big Hit or the songwriters of this song, you would probably advise them to settle out of court. Pay the money, that's what that means. Probably add their name to the songwriting credit, and that's a loss.
I mean, we'll see if it comes to lawsuit or something like that. It seems like so far it's just people talking about it and this one person like Luca Debonair bringing it up. But I don't think there's any legal action right now. And even if there was, it seems like Big Hit really tried to research everything and make sure they had the right, copyright holders and they paid the right people and credited the right people. But I did want to compare this to what happened with some of the Olivia Rodrigo songs, because this is a kind of a similar situation where she was accused of plagiarism and it had a very different outcome, because there were some of her songs where you probably heard that like one of her songs, One Step Forward, Three Steps Back, it has Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff in the writing credits. And then that was kind of found out like right when the album came out. It was like, oh, they have a credit on there. Oh, did Taylor Swift co-write this song? It's like, no, she didn't. Olivia Rodrigo or her people like just used a portion of Taylor Swift's song New Year's Day, or they like recreated the same beat or whatever. And it sounds like she got permission from Taylor Swift, but it's like they didn't really collaborate on that. It was just like she did it, and like after the fact was like, oh, well, let me credit you on here because I don't want to get sued or whatever. You know, it's like it's like she warned them, or she got permission, but after she already did it. And so, okay, that's fine. That was all sorted out. But then later there was even another song, Deja Vu, where it used a piece of Taylor Swift's song Cruel Summer, and that didn't initially have Taylor Swift, Jack Antonoff, and St. Vincent, who had written Cruel Summer, didn't have them credited immediately, but they were added later. So it sounds like they, you know, Olivia Rodrigo and her producer kind of copied that part of the song, and, you know, Taylor Swift's people heard about it and were like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And it seems like they came to an agreement, because clearly she didn't work with them on this song. She didn't really get permission ahead of time, but it seems like they came to an agreement. So that's why these 3 names were added afterwards, like after the album was out already. I think Taylor Swift, I don't know, she maybe she was conflicted about this, because I think she gets along really well with Olivia Rodrigo, and supposedly that girl, she's like a huge Swiftie. Like, you can go back like years of her videos, like she's singing Taylor Swift songs, and it's like, okay, maybe Taylor Swift like didn't want to come down on her that hard, or she didn't want to be on the bad side of Disney or Geffen Records, you know, because Taylor Swift's always trying to look at future opportunities. She doesn't want to like make more enemies. So I think she just calculated this and was like, okay, well, fine, just add me to the credits. Whereas she could have sued her. She could have gone really hard, because normally she is really careful about what happens with her money, especially now with the whole Scooter Braun and everything and Scott Borchetta situations. She is really careful about what happens with her rights, you know? So I think she just made a decision like, okay, well, I will make a deal with Olivia Rodrigo and just add me to the credits. And then that's just very interesting how that turned out. And it seems like this is all kind of under the radar for Olivia Rodrigo. She's having like a lot of success right now and charting and everything. And she's not really getting, you know, a lot of bad articles written about her. And I'm sure that's partially because Disney and Geffen Records, they have a lot of influence, so it's not really being heard. But, you know, these things could turn out very ugly for an artist. If you're accused of plagiarism, it could go like really bad for you and have a lot of bad PR. BTS is probably okay. It seems like they get accused of random stuff all the time, and in this case, there's songs that sound similar, but I don't think they did anything.
Well, it's not really their problem either. They're not the songwriters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the songwriters' issue. At the end of the day, they'll still pay the songwriters whatever for playing it at concerts and such. It will just be different people.
Right.
It's not a BTS problem. It's not really, quote unquote, their song.
Yeah. But yeah, this is more of a big hit issue. So hopefully their lawyers looked at everything and paid the right people. So the Tokyo 2020 Olympics opening ceremony took place this week, and in the opening ceremony for the Olympics, they had, you know, every country walks in, and then, you know, if the news that's covering the opening ceremony, they'll give you some facts about each country, and it's like, oh, it's this many athletes, and here's some, you know, information about that country. Well, for South Korea, they showed some pictures that represented South Korea. And I don't know if this was on every broadcast or just the one in South Korea, the MBC network. But the pictures that they showed to introduce South Korea was Namdaemun, which is the Korean national treasure made in the 14th century. It's like a sculpture of some kind. So it's something that's very important to the history of Korea. And then the second picture, they showed BTS to represent South Korea. And then the third was a statue of Admiral Yusun Shin, who was a military general from the 16th century who must have won a lot of wars or something if there's a statue for him. So those are the three that they decided should represent South Korea. That's pretty funny. The BTS was one of those. But I mean, that is what their South Korea might be known about by a lot of people today. But I found another article that said that the same network, NBC, was criticized for some of the photos they used for other countries. Like for Ukraine, they used a picture of Chernobyl, the nuclear power plant that blew up in 1986. Like, okay, maybe they don't want to be known for that. I mean, yes, that did happen, but
Right.
could you talk about something more positive maybe to represent Ukraine?
What else happened in Ukraine, though?
It used to be Russia. I mean, that I don't know a whole lot.
How do you represent that in the picture?
Yeah, that's not a lot to work with. It's
Right.
be very difficult. It's like, what's strictly Ukrainian that you could put in a picture? It's not like they have a huge history that they can look at.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I guess that was challenging for the people putting together these photos for each country. The other examples that people were looking at, Bitcoin photos were used for El Salvador, since Bitcoin is a legal currency there. Which
Correct. That's huge news, actually.
I didn't even know that. Oh, that's interesting.
They're the first country to accept it as a legal tender.
Well, how do you do that? It's like you have a credit card that's Bitcoin or something, or
I don't know, but I'm looking into it.
It sounds very cutting edge of El
Sounds
Salvador
like
to do
way
that.
for me to avoid taxes, so yeah.
So that doesn't sound.
Although I have no interest in moving to El Salvador.
Oh, you got to be in El Salvador to do that. Okay.
I mean, presumably, what? Yeah, it's not a particularly safe country or anything.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound like a negative thing. Like, okay, a photo of Bitcoin that could represent El Salvador, and
I mean, that's what they're That's what they want. It's good. It's good. It's good for other reasons, not just for people who want to avoid taxes. It's good for like people who want to do remittances. Like, let's say you're from El Salvador, but you live in the United States, and you want to send money to your family back home.
Right. There's a tax on that if you do it.
Yeah. Anyway, if you live in another country, you want to send money to family back home, there's often a lot of fees and taxes that are just BS that you have to pay. And crypto is right now an effective way to avoid a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have $100 and you want to send $100 back, you can do it using crypto. If you do it using the traditional banking system, you might send $90 back.
Right.
Which is garbage.
It's like
why I had $100. Now it's just going to be 90.
Just for no reason.
Right.
Just from transferring it.
Right. So crypto is much friendlier to remittances, and El Salvador has there are a lot of people who leave El Salvador and work in the United States.
Oh,
and send remittances back.
They go to the U.S.
Yeah. So it's very helpful for them.
And NBC also used a photo of pizza to represent Italy.
Wow, that is kind of insulting. Because as far as I know, like in Italy, pizza isn't that big of a thing. More people eat pizza in the United States than Italy.
Right.
As far as I understand.
We've made it more of a...
It's more of an American food than an Italian food.
Yeah, they could... And there's so many people like that could represent Italy. So that's funny that they just used pizza. It's like we had 5 minutes to do this, or an intern did it or something. And like a photo of salmon for Norway. Oh, that's not that bad. I mean, maybe that's a big export or something. And for Haiti, they use photos of riots. It's like, okay, did you guys have anything more positive you could use instead of photos of people rioting or protesting in Haiti? And they also had a caption for Haiti: "The nation that is in a fog due to the assassination of the president." It's like, okay, yeah, that did just happen, and that's pretty terrible for Haiti, but I don't know why you have to mention that at the Olympics. It's like, let's just focus on positive things for Haiti. They're athletes. Mm-hmm. I mean, they still send athletes, so hopefully those people do well. But yeah, the NBC apologized for that. But for some of the photos they used for these different countries, but it sounds like everybody liked that BTS was used to represent South Korea. I don't think anyone was offended by that.
No.
But that's pretty cool. And also happening in the Olympics, there's Korean athletes that are requesting BTS songs to play when they win, such as Dynamite. And so that's been happening. And there's a lot of Korean athletes seem to be winning. So I don't know if it's these are the good events for them, or this is just
Well, they're dominant in certain events. You know that.
Yeah, they have a lot of precision. So
They're always dominant in like the archery events.
yeah. But I heard that there was some situation where some athletes, South Korean athletes, they wanted Dynamite to play, and then all of a sudden they hear Boom Baya by Blackpink.
Oh, terrible.
And it's like the one athlete was like, well, that was disappointing.
No. Well, I mean, on balance, it's not the worst thing in the world. Let's be real.
Yeah, and I mean, this is taking place in Tokyo, so maybe that person is just like, well, whatever, I'll just put on a K-pop song, and that's what they wanted, and there you go.
Or maybe it was a Japanese person who was like saying, screw Koreans. You know? Maybe it was a willful snub.
It could be someone who
didn't
want to hear BTS.
I wouldn't read too much into that. Is it a really big deal? You're here representing your country. It doesn't matter if BTS or Blackpink plays.
Yeah, I mean, you won. That's the important thing. Now, if you were an American athlete and you won, though, would you think like, oh, I need to ask for an American song to play?
I didn't even know that was an option.
I didn't either.
I thought they just played your national anthem.
I mean, I think it's just when, like, in that moment in the arena or whatever. I don't think it's when
they just play your national anthem, right?
No, that's when you get your medal.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, right when that happens, I guess they want a certain song to play, like in the theater.
Well, I mean, I would have my preferences, but I wouldn't think it's that big of a deal either.
What if you're an American athlete and you're like, well, I'm a BTS fan? Like, do you think that is like unpatriotic to?
No, as long as you stand for your national anthem, it's fine.
Yeah, because like that's what I would want.
Right.
If I'm an American athlete, it's like, well, my favorite group's BTS, so I want to hear that. Yeah, and I also saw another article that there's an American swimmer who was like really into K-pop because she was like warming up to Twice songs or girl group songs. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, and she was a fan of like earlier Twice, like Cute Concept Twice.
Right. Oh, I saw it. I saw she knew the dances and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, that is unmistakable. The cheer up choreo that she was actually doing at the pool. I was like, wow, I couldn't even do that.
Well, it's pretty iconic at this point. Did she do like Dance the Night Away? That's my favorite dance.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
Oh, wait. Yeah. Dance the Night Away is my favorite Twice dance.
Yeah.
That's pretty iconic as well.
That's a fun one. That's really good.
I don't really love Cheer Up, but it's good that she knows it.
And it's something like unmistakable. If you saw the video, it's like, oh, that's clearly the song. But I think that's really cool to see like more Americans that are into K-pop. And I even saw somewhere else like Naomi Osaka is a K-pop fan as well. Like she listens to BTS. Mm-hmm. She did have like a weird opinion though. She thought "Make It Right" was the best song on Map of the Soul 7. I was like, wait,
is that weird? That's her favorite song. It's fine.
No, I don't know anyone who says that.
Well, people can have their own opinions.
Yeah, no, but that's cool that she's a K-pop fan too, and it makes sense if she's Japanese and American, so I'm sure she would have been exposed to K-pop too. But yeah, that is the BTS news of the Olympics. So according to an exclusive report from Seoul Economy News, SM Entertainment founder Soo Man is rumored to have gifted his 52-year-old foreign journalist girlfriend a luxury Gangnam villa worth approximately $4.3 million and is currently living with her. And the reports described her, the rumored girlfriend, as a Korean reporter from the Seoul branch of a North American broadcast company covering news in the U.S., Singapore, Hong Kong, and South Korea, and is known for her beauty. She is known to be 17 years younger than Soo Man, a prominent media reporter in the U.S., as well as a published author. So she's an American who's Korean ethnicity, and she works in Seoul, it sounds like. And also related to this, there's rumors that this reporter is Aespa member Giselle's aunt. Mm-hmm. So people already know Giselle's aunt, who that is, and that she is a news figure in the U.S., and she posts about Aespa, and is, it's known that's Giselle's aunt, and like people are connecting the fact that okay, Lee Soo Man is dating Giselle's aunt and Giselle is in Aespa. Like, did that influence that Giselle is in Aespa and she was chosen among, many other trainees who could have been in Aespa? Is that is that favoritism there?
Probably it is.
It probably is, but I guess it's his right to do that. I mean, it's his company.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it's like unethical, like quote unquote, but it definitely there is an influence there, I'm sure. Like, because why would he be dating the aunt and then Giselle makes it into the group? And I know before that it was like she was one of the people said like she wasn't a trainee for very long. Like she kind of just got there to SM, and it's like, oh wow, now you're suddenly in the group. Like, because there's other trainees that are in SM for years and
right.
They don't make it to a debut. But either she was really lucky and has like really strong talent, or maybe it helped her that her aunt is dating Lee Soo Man.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did help her.
Well, we don't know like when they started dating. Like it could have.
The article says it's been for years.
Oh, okay. So since before Aespa existed, then okay. So then that's definitely an influence there. I mean, I guess that's not a bad thing. Lee Soo Man can do whatever he wants. Like whoever can be an Aespa. But that makes me think like maybe they should have picked more people though. Like how come it's only 4 people then?
Well, on the one hand, yes, kids, this is a life lesson you really need to learn. And the earlier you learn it, the better. It's often not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
That's something people say all the time, but it gets proven over and over again. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Having good networks is super important for the success you'll have in your life, So think about that when you're deciding who to hang out with and who your friends are. Doesn't mean you have to do anything differently, right? But
right.
Just know that this impacts the trajectory of your life. If you tend to hang out with people who are rich and powerful, or the children of people who are rich, it's just going to make a difference. You know?
Successful people.
Yeah, you'll have better connections. This will just impact the trajectory of your life. And if you care a lot about those things, then you should think about it.
It's always good to make a good first impression too, and like introduce yourself, and then
Yeah. However, number 2, the idea that he can just do whatever the hell he wants, not exactly, because it's a publicly traded company, right?
Oh, is it SM? Okay.
SM has stock that's sold, so he has obligations as the CEO of the company to run the company in the shareholders' best interest. So if at any point the shareholders feel like, hey, this thing that you did here, it's not in our best interest, they can get him fired. We talked about this earlier, where the chairman of the board represents the shareholders, right? Mm-hmm. They can fire the CEO. Even if you own a lot of shares in the company, they can get you fired at some point, right? So you can only do so much of this before maybe the shareholders feel like you're not really behaving in our best interest. You need to go, or they will punish you. That's what happens when you have a publicly traded company. And
I've seen other articles too where it's kind of talking about Lee Soo Man. He's taken a personal interest in Aespa and, their choreography and the things they do and the songs they're singing. Like he's taken like more interest in them.
Right.
As a new group than maybe other SM groups, and maybe that's him trying to like overcompensate. He's like, well, I put this girl in there, I need to like make sure this group succeeds no matter what.
Perhaps.
So yeah, because he doesn't want the shareholders coming after him. Like let's say Aespa like is a big flop, and they'll be like, well, this is your fault for just putting like whoever in the group.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Whatever. But in the real world, this type of thing happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Somebody. Your connections, they matter.
You get that opportunity.
Yeah. If you don't think this type of stuff happens, then you're just not living the real world. And if you think it's unfair, well, there's not much I can do for you, because it's going to continue being like this.
And it doesn't really hurt anybody, but I can see if you were one of the other trainees.
Well, theoretically, it would hurt like another trainee, right?
Yeah, like if you're one of those other trainees and you have a lot of talent and you're like in SM and like you're not in a group, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, when do I get my opportunity? And maybe you think she took your spot in Aespa.
Right.
I mean, that.
But at the same time, I look at her, I'm like, oh, well, does she seem that much different from another trainee? She doesn't. It seems about the same,
Yeah, and I can't even In Aespa, the ones I remember are Karina and Ning Ning, and then the other two, like, I don't have them totally differentiated in my head right now yet. So
she got the look, she got the the SM plastic surgery that's required. And by the way, look at her pre-debut pictures.
Oh,
she definitely got the various.
She got some help.
Yeah, it's fine. Who cares? Really? This is just the way it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what Soo Man, he can decide. He can make these decisions, and
yeah, and if it's enough of a bad decision that he deserves to be replaced, then guess what? He doesn't own 100% of the company. The shareholders can kick him out. So if they decide that this is a serious enough offense and they want to boot him, they can. But it's not. She's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the group is doing well right now.
It's fine.
A lot of people like them,
right?
And they get a lot of buzz.
So I don't want to say he got away with it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? The group is fine. Maybe she is totally qualified, despite having got in because she has connections.
Yeah. That's what some commenters on the internet were saying. It's like, well, yeah, she has good connections, but she still meets the talent requirements that someone would need to be in Aespa. Right. Like, she can sing, she can dance, she has a look.
She totally does.
He could have picked just somebody else, or he could have picked the niece of his girlfriend and make her happy, you know?
Right.
It's like, why not? If Giselle is equal in talent to somebody else, it's like, why not make his girlfriend happy?
I mean, you guys have seen the videos. Does she seem like she doesn't belong in that group? No.
No, I mean, yeah, everyone in the group seems like they're good. Right. They're talented.
So, seriously.
But I think I would wonder what would happen, though, if he stopped dating the aunt, though. Like, would...
She's not going to be kicked out at this point.
I guess it would be... I guess there's a contract, so then he can't, take it back.
You can't just kick her out or anything.
Right.
No.
That's true. But yeah, that is a funny situation that is being reported. And Soo Man gave his girlfriend this Gangnam apartment, this very, nice apartment that they both live in, I guess. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even know what his relationship situation was, but now I know. Mm-hmm. He had a wife that passed away in 2014, and then because if you remember, he is on the old side. He's almost 70, I think, mm-hmm. and dating this 52-year-old woman. So yeah, I guess he would want to be dating somebody, a long-term relationship. So, well, that's nice for him that he found someone.
Yeah, that's nice for you, Soo Man.
Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast platforms. New episodes weekly. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. Follow BTS Happy Hour on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Weverse. You can also go to the website at btshappyhour.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional content. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.